Once again, we have severe weather in the forecast for today. In today's forecast, we're going to discuss the impacts of potentially up to EF2 tornadoes, large to very large hail, and significant wind gusts. So real quickly here, here's the current hazards. We have a lot of winter weather-related hazards up to the north here, parts of Wisconsin. Winter weather advisories, ice storm warnings, northern Wisconsin, winter storm warnings, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, and winter weather advisories surrounding it, as well as into Maine and northern Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire here, and some snow and wind-related. Let's see here. Freeze watch, free warning, right in the mountains here. Interesting. And we have red flag warnings here to the east of the Rockies, and some other snow-related hazards to the west here in parts of Wyoming, Montana, and Ohio. So to start off with, let's review the Storm Prediction Center outlook for today. You see the general marginal risk area of severe weather extending all the way back to central Pennsylvania, southern Minnesota, down to parts of southern Texas, with the slight risk extending all the way down past Wichita Falls towards Abilene and northward towards Waterloo, and to the east near Bloomington, Illinois, with a enhanced risk squarely on the border between Iowa and Missouri. As far as tornado risk, the biggest risk for storm tornadoes is centered on just south of the Des Moines, Iowa area, southward towards Springfield, Illinois, eastward towards Ottawa, uh, Springfield, Missouri, excuse me, Des Moines, Iowa, and Pontiac, Illinois here. You see where the 5% tornado risk is here, and then a smaller 2% tornado risk surrounding it. So up to EF2 tornadoes are possible in the stippled hash. I don't know what you want to call it. It's a Sig 1 intensity, so reasonably expected EF2 tornadoes possible, although isolated in nature. And outside that area, we can still have tornadoes, but likely to be less than EF2 intensity here. So we move on to the wind risk here. It looks like the highest risk of high winds here exceeding hurricane force are in this red area here. 30% risk, and the hashing means up to 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts as storms move through this area. So we'll be mindful of that. That's centered on the Missouri-Iowa border here, going toward Des Moines and southward towards Slater, Missouri. You have a larger wind risk here, encompassing the whole risk area, ranging from a slight to a 5%. This is a 15, right, and 5% wind risk. And outside of this stippled region, expecting 50-knot winds, which is roughly 60 some mile an hour. Wind gusts are possible as the storms move through the area today. As far as hail goes, pretty much in the northern part of this slight risk area for hail, right, with 50% hail risk, we have a a Sig 1 hail risk up to 2 inches in diameter is reasonable, okay, within the stippled region, and so we still, we have a 50% risk within 25 miles of a point here, okay? That's what that means. And outside of that, you have the slight risk and marginal risk of hail up to 1 inch in diameter here. Doesn't mean you can't have larger, but that's the overall consensus right now. Not to forget about our excessive rainfall outlook and flooding potential. We have a pretty large marginal risk covering most of the same area where we had the severe weather today. So the greatest risk for flooding is generally from San Angelo towards Columbia, Missouri, in the yellow area here where the slight risk is. So that's a slight risk of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a point, okay? So we have another area centered in the Cedar Rapids area with the same thing here. And see the greatest threat here of rainfall is in the Dallas area, heavy rain, just to the north of Dallas, near Coleman, Texas, northward of McAllister, towards Fayetteville. So let's not forget about our friends up to the north here, my friends up here in South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, and through the weekend anticipating heavy snow here generally up to a foot or more along the in South Dakota, North Dakota border, and parts of central Minnesota here up to the Canadian border, right, and parts of Wyoming as well. And so here's the probabilities here of exceeding 12 inches of snow in the 24-hour period. Just go back to Monday here. It won't allow you to do that here, but you can see the probabilities are relatively high that you could get um, 12 inches of snow here, maybe 30-40%. 8 inches definitely on the books here for this area today and through the weekend. Icing is also going to be a main concern as well, especially into parts of northern Wisconsin. Expecting maybe a half inch or more of ice here, and so that's a lot of icing here. And this is generally going to be falling between Saturday night and Sunday morning. Okay, and slowly move off to the northeast during that time. And you can see here the probabilities of and if you click on this, what's expected here, right? So say, for example, Crandon, Wisconsin, gotta close this, sorry about that. Expecting the possibility of it being over a half inch of ice here is near 28%, all right? Which, let's see here, click on this area here. Lando Lakes, Wisconsin, interesting name. So, I would expect between a tenth of an inch and a quarter inch of icing here, with expectation you could have more as well. So expected, see here, 0.48 inches, around half an inch of ice. And that's a lot of icing. So be safe out there this weekend, guys. So as far as the flow pattern to start off this forecast, right? This is the Ahref Ensemble Viewer. This allows me to take all the short range models, right? And they're combined on one screen to give an output here. So this is 500 millibar mid-level flow, what we always try to start off with here. All right, you have your shortwave exiting today with a severe threat. That's today's severe threat till for a few more hours. Okay, you have this other shortwave move through the flow here. And this will be the impetus for severe weather over the next couple days as it moves to the east, right? So into today, you see a speed max moving through the flow here, right? Right here. Pretty tightly wrapped low pressure, right? This is this afternoon, roughly about noontime or so, moves through. And overnight, you see that speed max intensifies here again, and right over the threat area. So we're talking about an overnight threat, it looks like, right, as it moves to the east. The forcing is less prevalent down to the south here, so hence the less impactful uh, graphics, I guess you would say. Not as many impacts to the south here, but instability will be higher, and we'll talk about all those parameters here. So I just want to show you the flow at the mid levels and what's driving this system as it lifts to the north, and more of a glancing blow here as we get into Saturday and Saturday night with a severe threat with a marginal risk and slight risk here on the eastern side here in parts of the mid-Atlantic and Midwest, Ohio Valley, and down into the deep south here as well. So we look at the currently start off with today. This is the radar simulation, and here's your different model outputs are used within this Ahref ensemble, right? So when we go past that, here's your threat area. Showers and storms lift to the north. Just some messy kind of overrunning kind of stuff going on here. This moves to the north in the Chicago area, the north of the threat area, marginal risk area, although heavy rain will be ongoing here. All right, and then you see the line of storms developing here, and you have the greatest forcing overnight here, right? And so all the way down into southern Texas, you have this line of storms that's maybe rotating updrafts in the line. Now we'll move on to a focused discussion about the two areas here. One other thing I want to note is this line right here, maybe a warm front moving to the north. Wherever this warm front sets up, we could have some tornadoes as well here. Here's the the Midwest view with the convection ongoing here. And you see around roughly 3 p.m. just general showers and thunderstorms ongoing here. I'm going to put a updraft salicity plot on here as well. And this is HRRR. Showers and storms move through that area with the most intense convection, intense winds and hail and tornadoes expected to be in this area. Okay, this is going to be an overnight event. So be mindful of that, right? And you see where this warm front probably is setting up in this area. Some rotating storms can also get going here, like I just talked about. Storms move through the area with high winds, hail, and potential tornadoes. And you see ahead of this line where storms are developing here, just to the east of this. If you get any discrete development ahead of this main line, is where I think the tornado threat will be maximized here. Looking at the Central Plains view, right? We kind of looked at this already, but I want to show you a more Central Plains center view. Just this convection that's firing ahead of this is what has me most concerned, right? For supercells ahead of the line. But then you get these line segments and you have rotating updrafts. You see the little swigglies here. That could indicate some rotating storms as well and some convection firing behind it also. I want to show you all this too. This is a little bit higher, lower in the atmosphere towards the surface, 700 millibars, right? We go into the overnight hours. This is the southern plains. You see what we have here. We have maybe a short wave, some lower height, some height falls here, right down to the south. We move down to 850 millibars closer to the surface. Seeing maybe a nebulous kind of surface feature come through the flow here. Maybe that has to do with the dry line as well. So real quickly, look at that real quick. Permit me here. And look at the dew points, right? Right, so we have the dew points surging up with the dew points reaching the 60s, which is sufficient for severe weather. And they push further to the east, but not very much here. So the dry line really doesn't move that much during the day. Just a little bit eastward progression here. So going back to the radar simulation here from HRRR, you can see down in southern Texas, we get storms firing a little bit earlier here with the convective environment and being a little more conducive as far as energy goes. And you can see what I mean by that. We got some surface-based CAPE values, although not really that high, maybe approaching 2,000 joules per kilogram, which actually is pretty high. This map isn't shaded what I'm used to, so anywhere we have these higher CAPE values, we could definitely have convection firing. It could be more intense here. Back to reflectivity, see that move through overnight. Some rotating updrafts, maybe getting going here into southern Texas. Probably mostly hail, hailers, right? But pretty intense convection overnight, and maybe backbuilding here as maybe a surface boundary pushes to the south here into Saturday. You see that push to the south, and then you have your marginal risk here into tomorrow. All right, so that's it for today. I spent a lot of time on today's forecast. I don't want to draw this out for y'all. I appreciate y'all watching. You have any comments, questions, or anything you want to talk about? I'd like to also know where y'all are at here, your locations. Tell me what you experienced. I really would love to hear from you. Y'all take care, be safe, and God bless.